So it's official. Twitter has accepted Elon Musk's offer to buy the company for $44 billion. And we're not sure how he's going to pay for it, but it could be through the form of a microchip implanted in your hand to simplify the payment process. Now, this is definitely going to be a new form of tracking, but this is the way that everything is going. Are you going to implant a chip in your wrist or your hand to simplify the payment process? I'm not. But even still, if you don't, uh, the fact that you have a cell phone in your pocket means that you are traceable to this moment as we speak. Or is that really true? Because there are ways around that. So you can still get off the grid and not go back in time to caveman era. Welcome back, everybody. I want to talk to you about microchips being implanted in your hand for payment. This article was produced about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, and it says that they have these microchips. I'll put the link in the description so you can read the article, so you can read it. But they say they have these microchips that they'll put in your hand, and then you can scan your hand to buy things. So obviously there's some huge problems with this, but I think the biggest problem with this is where this could go. And beyond the tracking, beyond the control, the first thing that immediately jumps out at me is health and safety. So imagine you find yourself in a situation where you need to be rushed to a hospital or an emergency room, and honestly, the worst part about all that is the paperwork and the bureaucracy around it. All the red tape just to get help, just to survive, just to not die in an emergency situation. What's the first thing they ask you when an ambulance comes to get you, if you're conscious, if you've ever been in a situation, or you get to a hospital? What's the first thing they ask you? They don't ask you how do you feel, what are your symptoms, or anything like that. The first thing they ask you is, do you have insurance? The answer to that question is going to determine a lot about your future and your livelihood and your safety. So with these chips being implanted in your hand for the ability for payment, I think the answer is the question is going to go beyond, do you have insurance? They're just going to imagine you're unconscious, you're in the hospital, you need their help to revive you, to survive, to save your life. And they scan your hand and they see your account balance. You think they're going to ask you if you have insurance then? So these chips, everybody's moving towards putting their credit cards on their phone, Apple Pay, all sorts of other things. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's silly. I think you shouldn't do it. And I'm not going to do it. But these chips in the hand, it's not about ease and simplicity. It's about control and tracking. And at the end of the day, the bottom line, how much money does someone stand to make off of you? It's kind of like that movie with Justin Timberlake, In Time. The amount of time you had left ultimately determines your value of life. And when you ran out of time, you ran out of life. That was the end of your life. And the social classes were determined by looking at someone's arm to see how much time they had, which ultimately meant how much money they had, which meant what they could get or what they wouldn't get. And this to me is literally the same thing. We're all concerned about food shortages and plant shortages, even the possibility of reverting back to what once was, and things going a little bit further in a sense or in a way of martial law, and just shutting everything down on top of a recession, on top of all the other problems we have. This is not going to help. These chips in your hand for simplified payment, not going to help. Elon Musk, he put out an offer. It was accepted. It looks like he's going to be the new owner of Twitter at $44 billion. He claims that he wants to bring back the freedom of speech that the platform has since lost, as we've seen in the last few months, years. And, only time will tell what will actually happen with this purchase. But I know that everybody who holds Twitter stock or was looking to invest in Twitter is very upset about this purchase. I'm not going to get into the financial side of it, but not everybody is happy about Elon Musk purchasing Twitter. And I had somebody comment that, the only way to truly get off grid is to not have a cell phone. And I don't think that in this day and age you can really survive without a cell phone. I don't think you can. Now, there are alternatives to the traditional methods of cell phones. You can go prepaid, you could try maybe some form of Wi-Fi calling, maybe over the internet. But, even if it wasn't just for phone calls, if it was just a way to get information, like I said in my last video, a way to have access to the trusted sources of information that are actually looking out for your best interest and providing you with the truth of what's really going on, you're going to need internet access. You're going to have to. I mean, forums exist, YouTube channels exist, other forms of social media, Discords. You have to have access to it. And to not have a cell phone or not have access to the internet, it's not realistic. And it's not going to be in your best interest, I don't think, to maintain your safety. If you want to sit and listen to the news and the network news stations and the radio stations and read the newspaper and just absorb what they're feeding you, be my guest. But I'm not going to do that, because that is a recipe for disaster. With that being said, there are companies out there, quite like NordVPN, that allow users to have of this VPN service to have some animosity or some form of privacy as far as who they are, where they are, and ultimately their search history, their internet browsing history, by allowing for the IP address to be randomized all around the world. So, I don't know if anybody uses any of these VPNs or uses NordVPN in particular, but if you are concerned and you do have some issues with the ability of others to track your every single move, because they are. I mean, how many people have mentioned something in passing, and then the next minute you go on your phone or you go on your computer or you check your email, or even you get a text message sometimes, and you get an advertisement for the product or service that you were discussing in private. So, these applications and these programs like NordVPN, I think it's Ghost VPN, I think it might be another one, and there's several out there, are really good options for your safety and your privacy and your security, that'll still allow you the ability to have access to the communications and information and the truth that you need. So as a recap, they're putting chips in your hands to take your money, but they're going to take more than that if you let them do it. Elon Musk is going to be possibly, seemingly, looks like very soon, the new owner of Twitter. And NordVPN and other VPN services like NordVPN or Ghost VPN are great ways to maintain your privacy and your level of secrecy online.